Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and today we will be taking a look at Significant Other. This backpacking tale unravels a scary form of love. Horror movies with a twist are the best of the best. The twist could be anything, starting from it being a totally different entity haunting the people that it seemed to be, to introducing zombies or even aliens. And this is exactly what Significant Other has brought us. In the movie Significant Other, a young couple backpacks across the isolated Pacific Northwest and encounters scary and overwhelming experiences that make them believe nothing about the location is as it seems. It has elements like a personality change, aliens, and even past trauma, which hugely affect the couple and the story. And we will be talking about it all, and that is why people say that love is the best thing to happen to someone, or the scariest. Today's movie review is going to be filled with humor, serious discussions, and overall views of the people. We'll tell you about the characters and the plots, and we'll also discuss what the entity could possibly be. So grab a bucket of popcorn and enjoy. And if you have not already watched the movie, a spoiler warning is in effect. Now, let's get right into it. This movie consists of a great cast, and the film itself is solely based on two main characters, Ruth, played by Micah Monroe, and Harry, played by Jake Lacey. Both are excellent actors who have shown immense potential in their previous movies, and they have probably outshined those performances in this movie. The first part of the movie keeps the audience in complete darkness and throws one twist after another, making us question the whole story altogether. But after a certain revelation, the movie becomes clear crystal. And then it turns from a hiking horror movie to an alien hunting session. So let's talk about the entire movie in brief and probably share some laughs and goosebumps and whoo along the way. Before we get into our explanation, however, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, let's begin.
Whoa, it's okay.
Backpacking gone wrong. Analyzing the plot of Significant Other. The movie begins with an asteroid falling from the sky behind a forest. A deer inside the woods heard a noise in a bush and stared at it eerily. And before it saw anything, a long tentacle attacked it from behind and presumably killed it. The scene then cuts to black, and the scene shifts to Ruth and Harry, a couple happily driving through the woods to reach a place to eat. After they reach Bigfoot's Burger Shack, they start eating and discussing flowers when they were approached by a scared local kid called Jimmy, who asked them if they had seen the red star falling. The couple laughs it off as a prank and heads on their way to their real destination, the Red Ridge Trail. When they reach there, Ruth feels uneasy, and Harry tries calming her down by telling her that she would love hiking just like she loves surfing. He told her that he's been on this trail many times and that there's nothing to be scared of, and Ruth finally agrees with him, and they enter the trail. The decision was going to change their lives forever. The background songs in this movie are just too good, and they especially fit the funny and goofy character of Harry perfectly. I'm glad he enjoyed it. But let's continue. When they started off on the trail, Ruth asks Harry one question which every girl asks her boyfriend, and that is, how was your first kiss? Harry reluctantly started telling her about it, but Ruth seems to be distracted by something, and she felt like she was being watched by someone, but she kept following Harry anyway. After setting up food for the first night, they joked and had fun about Ruth's lack of skills for camping, and she proposed that if Harry made the tent quick enough, he would get a surprise from her. Upon hearing this, Harry jumped up and excitedly started building the tent, making Ruth laugh. Is it just me, or is this place getting hot? Whew. Anyway, at night, Ruth was woken up by a sudden urge to pee, and she felt uneasy in this new environment as well. She grabbed the lantern and left the camp to relieve herself, when she was suddenly startled by a deer staring directly at her. It seems to be the deer from the beginning of the movie. She looked back and tried to see it more clearly, when suddenly, Harry held her from behind, startling her. Damn you, Harry, for this unnecessary jump scare. She hugged him and told him what happened, and he just smiled at her, telling her that she was overthinking everything. The next day, they continued their hike. They walked for a few hours, chatting with each other until Harry realized that he had reached his main destination. So he covered Ruth's eyes and took her to the ledge, where he opened her eyes to reveal the beautiful scenery with an endless amount of sea ahead of them. The beauty made Ruth smile, and Harry did something even she did not expect. That's right, he proposed. He told her how meeting her changed his life and how it gave him a sense of direction in his life. Saying this, he got on his knees and proposed. But Ruth was not as happy as Harry. She got overwhelmed and started having a panic attack. She kept on hyperventilating, and she quickly pulled out her meds and took them, which helped her calm down. Harry, however, was concerned. He felt betrayed and saddened by this, as he knew her answer was a no. They returned to the camp. Ruth tried to explain herself, but Harry told her not to worry about it. They talked a bit and started arguing about how they decided not to marry. Turns out, Ruth's parents divorced, which made her mentally ill for quite some time, and she even skipped on the medicine that her psychiatrist had prescribed her. This made Ruth extremely sad, but she did realize that he was right. Harry made some mean comments about her parents, which offended Ruth, but in the end, Harry stormed off into the tent and went to sleep. Oh boy. Harry, I don't think this is going to wind up well for you. The next morning, Ruth woke up to a letter from Harry saying he needed to get some fresh air and that he would return in some time. Still thinking about yesterday's conversation, Ruth decided to call her psychiatrist, but there was no reception, so she ventured out deeper into the woods until she got the connectivity. When the phone finally connected, she decided to hang up and looked over at a tree, where she was shocked to see a mutilated deer head, which had been split in half. Looks like somebody wasn't too happy with the deer staring at her, I guess. Ruth started to back up and was suddenly startled by Harry again. Harry is literally like a ninja who makes noise only when the plot needs him to. It is almost like Jack Lacey told the directors, "Me? Horror movie? Alien? I'll do it if I'm secretly a ninja who creeps up behind the MC when needed." But we digress. Harry went to check on the corpse of the deer and found black fungus growing on the body. Ruth suspected that it was the same deer from last night, but Harry cleared that idea as there were hundreds of deer in the forest. They returned to the camp, but Ruth was still worried about the predator who killed the deer. Harry held her hand to comfort her, but soon took it off when he realized he was crossing a line. But Ruth told him she loved him, which made him smile. She told him the reason she did not want to marry was that people changed, and he would change too. And then he might or might not love her.
I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I do.
Soon, they kept their differences aside and shared a kiss. In the morning, Ruth woke up and went to pee while Harry cooked the food. She ventured a little far when she saw a bunch of beautiful flowers, which fascinated her. She plucked one out and then looked behind her to see a dark cave with blue spots all over it. She went inside the cave to inspect the substance. She realized that it was some blue gooey substance that she had never seen before. And just as she turned around, the scene cut back to Harry, who was waiting for his, wait for it, significant other, impatiently. See what I did there? Anyway, he got up to search for her, and soon he found her standing in the middle of a small emptied field. And when he approached her, she looked back with an emotionless face that did not show any remorse for making him worried. She was surely acting strange, and Harry was concerned. He brought her back to the camp, and they continued their journey, while Ruth constantly stared at Harry. That night, Harry was awakened by a soft rustle outside the tent, and he realized that Ruth was missing. He went out to search for her, and even though he could barely see anything in the dark, he was not going to give up. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Ruth showed up behind him, scaring him. How does that feel, Harry? She was holding a knife and had it pointed at him. He was confused, and after questioning her about the knife, he took it from her. She told him she saw an animal, so she took it. But of course, the viewers knew that that was not the real reason. While returning back into his tent, he felt like someone was watching him, but he went back inside and went to sleep. The whole night while they slept, Ruth stayed awake with her eyes peeled open until the morning, not even blinking once. This showed how well thought out the movie really is, and how dedicated Micah Monroe was to her role. Again, morning came, and Ruth stared into the dense forest while Harry packed up everything. He tried sparking up a conversation between them, but Ruth seemed to be in her own train of thought. Disappointed, Harry backed off when Ruth apologized, as she did not feel like herself recently. Harry confessed that this was not what he wanted for the trip, and Ruth got up and told him that maybe she was wrong. She really wanted to marry him, but only on one condition. Harry would propose to her at the same place that he did previously, and pretend like it was the first time. Harry happily agreed and took her back to the ledge where they had been to previously. Harry got down on his knee and proposed to Ruth once again, and she said yes this time. After Harry put the ring on her finger, she kissed him passionately, and then, to everyone's surprise, she suddenly kicked him in his no-no area and pushed him down the ledge, hundreds of feet below her, until his body slammed hard against the rock. She looked down at his body and started to run in the opposite direction. She kept on running for hours until she got insanely dehydrated, to the point where she collapsed and hit her forehead on a rock. She lay there motionless for hours, and slowly stopped moving altogether. Hours later, two hikers found her, and when they realized she was alive, they offered her to stay with them until she was better. Every time they asked her what had happened, she would keep saying she did not remember, and this worried the other couple. Vivian tried to talk to her again, but Ruth stared at Ray's hands that were cutting up sausage with a knife. When Vivian realized that there was no use in asking her the same things over and over again, she asked Ruth about her hobbies, to which she replied that she liked surfing. Vivian told her that she and Ray also liked surfing, but for the past couple of years, they weren't able to go because there were way too many sharks near the coastline due to global warming. Ruth ignored Vivian and kept looking at Ray's knife. So Vivian got up and went to talk to Ray about how waiting for help was futile. After they spoke, Ruth got up and took Ray's knife. Upon seeing this, Vivian and Ray got defensive and asked for the knife back. But Ruth held it up and pointed it at them and said, "No!" Just before they could move, they heard a voice from behind them. Ruth froze and said, "It's him." Out of the shadows, a silhouette walked out and revealed itself to be none other than Harry himself, smiling and talking to Ruth. Plot twist after plot twist. The movie made us believe that it was Ruth who was being controlled by an alien, or was an alien's disguise, but it was Harry after all this time. Kudos to the movie for such a spectacular twist. Now, back to the story. The three of them panicked, and Ruth ran away, and Vivian followed her. On the other hand, Ray stood there and asked Harry to get away from him, but Harry did not listen and came closer and closer, saying he came in peace. And after feeling threatened by Harry, Ray swung at him, just to realize that his arm had been chopped off. He stared in disbelief as Harry revealed a long metallic knife poking out of his index finger. He thanked Ray for finding Ruth and sliced his face in half. Ruth and Vivian ran and hid behind a tree. When Vivian questioned her about who the guy was, Ruth told her that the man over there was not her fiancé, and that he was quite dangerous. And just then, Vivian heard Ray's voice. Even after repeated warnings, Vivian left Ruth and ran to her husband just to witness her husband's face fall in half. Scared, she tried to run, but was pierced in the back by Harry's blade. Harry knew Ruth was nearby, so he threatened to kill Vivian if she did not come out. Ruth, being the kind soul that she is, revealed herself. Ruth fearfully asked him, "What have you done to her?" To which he said he could fix her. Just as he got close to Vivian, he pierced her head with the blade, killing her instantly. Ruth tried to save her already dead friend, but was tackled to the ground by Harry. He pointed his blade at her face and asked her commandingly how she got to know about his true identity. She revealed that a few days back, when she had ventured out into the forest to pee, she had discovered Harry's sliced up body inside the cave, and she had ran out of there in a panic. And just as she would calm down, the imposter had approached her and brought her back to the camp. Harry laughed to himself and then decided to kill her, but after multiple attempts, he couldn't do it. He told her that he was a scout and that it was his job to tell the information to the others. When he saw that he himself was telling her all the planetary secrets, he thought it was because of Harry's feelings, but then he realized that what he felt was not just Harry's feelings, but his own as well, and that he had started to love her. He turned around and tried to process all of this, and came to the conclusion that he did love her. When he turned around to tell this to Ruth, he realized that Ruth had taken off, so he ran after her. He kept saying how he would never hurt her, and how amazing and new this profound feeling was to him. But Ruth kept on running, and when she realized there was no way of outrunning him, she grabbed a log and hit him with it, which did absolutely nothing to him. After she saw that Harry was truly not hurting her, she accepted his proposal to see what he wanted to show her. He took her to the beach shore, where he told her that every other being he had turned into had no feeling like love, and that love was truly a feeling only humanity knew. While walking with him, she saw a bunch of sharks in the sea and plotted a plan. Harry soon revealed a spaceship which left Ruth in shock. He told Ruth that he wanted to take her somewhere far away from Earth, where nobody would be able to find them, and that there were more like him coming, and they would turn Earth into a place where she would not want to be anymore. Ruth agreed to his plan and accepted his idea, but what the creature didn't know was that Ruth had a secret plan. After Ruth turned around, she quickly pulled out the knife from his back pocket and stabbed him in the heart, which made him bleed like crazy. Then she ran straight for the water and started swimming farther in the ocean. Harry chased her, trying to make her stop, but he didn't realize he was leaving a trail of blood behind him, and just as he was about to catch her, a shark grabbed him and pulled him under the water. Taking this opportunity, Ruth quickly escaped while moments later, Harry got out of the sea, his body slowly regenerating from the attacks. Ruth walked and walked, but she felt exhausted. She was hungry and she was tired. And that's when she stumbled upon Ray and Vivian's camp. She jumped on the meat sandwich and ate it as if she had never seen food before. Even Ray's mutilated hand did not disgust her anymore. After eating, she scanned through their stuff, and a hiker's badge triggered another panic attack. She quickly got up and pulled out her last pill and took it. Just as she was calming down, she was struck by a tentacle, and she soon passed out after seeing Harry. After she woke up, she was covered in the black fungus that she saw earlier, and realized she was being connected to the creature via his tentacle. The creature talked about how he just wanted to love her, and how she could be saved, all while slowly absorbing her body. Slowly, he transformed from Harry to Ruth, and that's when Ruth decided she was going to use her biggest weakness to her advantage. As she knew that the creature would feel everything she felt, she started to bring up the past traumatic events that happened in her life, causing the creature to have a panic attack. I don't mean to laugh, but seriously? The creature tried to get the medicine, but the bottle was empty. It fell to the ground, hyperventilating while Ruth freed herself. She looked at her clone and stared until she realized that the clone was too tired. So she started to comfort her and lay her on the floor. Just as soon as the creature let its guard down, she picked up a big stone and smashed its face in multiple times before pulling out the car keys from its pocket and making a run for it. She reached her car after walking for miles, turned on the car, and drove away. A song was playing on the radio when suddenly the radio switched into someone's voice, and soon it turned into Ruth's voice itself, telling her that she was not safe and it was gonna get her sooner or later. And the movie ends with many asteroids falling behind the same forest. Our marvelous verdict. Negative reviews don't do justice to this unique supernatural thriller. Many viewers left a review saying that this movie was not up to the mark, but we certainly disagree. Many people might have glossed over the fact that this movie was really low budget, and most movies with such a theme would not even be as good as this one. But this movie had romance, horror, sci-fi, and even some comedy to a certain extent. The movie talks about daily life problems. It talks about mental health, and even gives us some form of information on hiking in general. Keeping in mind that this movie was based mainly on two characters gives it so much depth, and both the characters gave an outstanding performance yet again, starting by shifting their characters from one mood to another to giving us a hint of joy even while playing the evil versions of themselves. This movie absolutely rocked it. The Creature in the Flesh. We talked a lot about the movie and its reviews, but let's talk about something we all want to know. The alien. The alien seems to have traveled to Earth in a scout ship, so he is basically a scout. The alien seems to be from a race far superior to mere humans, which is quite clear by how it regenerates or hunts. It is a skilled fighter, and it also has some inherent weapons that can easily cut off impenetrable objects. The alien species seems to be one dominating the entire galaxy, as Harry did mention that it has been on numerous planets before, so the idea of them successfully capturing those planets would not be too far-fetched. This alien seems to use their tentacles to first take control of a host, and then absorb their bodies to turn themselves into an exact replica of the host, giving them the host's memories, feelings, and abilities. But the creature has its weaknesses as well. Though it seems to be self-healing, it doesn't seem to have any super-hearing, meaning it can only hear as far as the human in proximity. Now, we're not saying that it's not possible for it to have that power when it absorbs some other creature, but as a human, they're only limited to the humanly feats, minus of course the extra fast self-healing. But it is also open to emotional and psychological attacks, meaning that there might be other means to gain the upper hand on these beings. That means that humans might still have a chance to fight off these creatures. But what do you think?
No, I don't.
The movie's significant other was a complete roller coaster ride. It gives us romance, alien-human romance, horror, thriller, sci-fi, and even a hint of comedy. This movie was written in an amazing manner, and the acting done by the actors just made the movie all the more interesting. The movie kept us in the dark and changed the plot multiple times by introducing twists that were never expected. And that is one big sign of an amazingly written movie. Does it deserve all those negative reviews that it's getting? No. Now, would we like to watch a sequel which gave Ruth and the aliens more depth and maybe find the alien's origin? Oh, hell yeah. So, do us a favor. Check out this movie, and then comment below what you think is one good way of defeating these aliens. Thank you again for watching this episode of Marvelous Videos. If you liked our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.